A Frenchman by the name of Alex de Tocqueville toured America. And in 1835, he wrote some observations about America, but the best known line in his observations are this: America is great because she's good. If she ever ceases to be good, America will cease to be great. Now, if you watch the news and read the newspapers over the last few weeks, you would think America is a very evil place. And there are two groups, generally speaking, in America that we need to watch. On the one hand, all whites have some element of racial supremacy in them, and all blacks are simply rioters and looters. And the blacks, generally speaking, don't like the whites, and the whites don't like the blacks. Well, that's not the America that I know. The America I know is not an evil country. Not on this July the 4th as I ponder and contemplate the current state of affairs. I've used a little bit of common sense and personal observation, I think a little bit like the famous de Tocqueville. The average American, whether he is white, black, brown, or whatever, is still a good person. He's still a good person. I do not know personally among my friends and associates any whites that are supremacists who are trying to drag one over on the black population. And neither do I know any blacks among my observations who are hate-filled and are rioters and looters and trying to somehow take it to the white population. Oh no. There are those, but out of our basically 350 million person population, they are really fringe groups. They make a lot of noise. But the whites I know and the blacks I know are good people. Instead of hurting each other, they help each other. And they always will, because they love each other. De Tocqueville said, America's good. I want to say this, America is still good. It's still good. We just hear about the fringe groups because the news is made when a man bites a dog, not when a dog bites a man, because that's so commonplace. Goodness in America is commonplace more than evil, so it never attracts the news reporters. It always has to be the offbeat or the evil. Now, I do not suggest there's not a place for it, but let's keep it in a proper balance. Whites do love blacks, generally speaking, and blacks do love whites, generally speaking, in the main, most of the time, virtually all of the time, that is true. Now, I hate supremacists, and I hate the looters. But let's find out what is good. If you do an acrostic on the word good, G-O-O-D, that'll help us to understand what the average American person really is and define that person regardless of the race. Take the letter G. The average American believes in God. He believes in God. And God regulates his life. He may be a little bit old-fashioned because he believes a person ought to go to church. And he ought to do unto others as he would have them do to him. He is a God-fearing person. That's the average American who is good. He's, first of all, a God-fearing person. He takes his Christianity seriously. The O in good stands for oneness. He's a rugged individualist. He believes if he works hard and pulls himself up by his own bootstraps, regardless of race, he can be a success and he can have enough money for himself and for his family. The second O in good is optimistic. The Americans I know are very optimistic. Things are going to get better. They just believe that. They believed that during the Revolutionary War, the War of 1812, the Civil War, the Spanish-American War, World War I, the Depression, World War II, Vietnam. They just simply believe somehow things will get better and things will be okay. The Americans that I know are very optimistic. They remind me of the little 6-year-old kindergartner at a baseball game with his team that I saw him on the first inning standing behind the backstop, and I said, "What's the score?" He said, 17-0. "Oh, really? Who has the 17th? "The other team." "Aren't you fearful?" 17-0. "Oh, no, sir," he said. "We haven't come to bat yet." Americans are optimistic. And the D in good is Americans, the ones I know, the general population, are doers. They're doers. Look at all the charities. Look at all the hard work. Look at all the wonderful things they have contributed. Red and yellow, black and white. Forget race. Look at all that has been contributed by Americans to make this world a better place. G is for God-fearing. O is for the oneness, the individualism that an individual can make life better for himself and his loved ones. O is for optimism, and D is for doing. De Tocqueville said, America is great because she's good. I assert to you today, forget the newscast and all that morbid, horrible, saddening, depressing news about how we hate each other. On this July the 4th, I celebrate the fact that Americans, most of us, virtually all of us, are still good. So, America is still great. This is Evangelist Harold Hunter. If this has been a blessing to you, I hope you'll hit the subscribe button and tell others about these videos, and even share if you can. Thank you till we're together again.